Hey there, everybody. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of Monday Night Must See TV with the Hudson Valley Squares. Its favorite albums of all time day. Let me introduce to you the panel. We've got on the show for the first time in a couple weeks. Sydney Taylor's back. We've got the man with the brand new camera and microphone, Ryan Scow. So we got Steve Keeler, our center square, Chris Allo. Also back after 2 weeks, I guess, Chris Canzaneri. And also back after a couple of weeks, Butch Jones.
Hey.
After hockey.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. But he's back. He's got his bourbon. We're all good to go.
Good to see you, Butch.
Good to see you
and
guys.
Of course, we've got Muggsy.
Lilo. That's Lilo. The other one will.
Sorry, so Muggsy's got. That's all right. Get him confused.
He'll show up later.
There you go.
Early
Early in the show today, right?
Yeah.
So if Michael's watching, he's going to be like, and Ryan's dog shows up at zero in the counter of the video. Right.
I'm not used to seeing Ryan in such high quality. It's a little weird.
Yeah, it's like he's almost in 4K or something.
Yeah, that tablet's gone. You won't see that tablet ever again. It's a real camera.
Yeah, last week it sounded like you were filming an
underwater
series.
A cave on Mars. I know.
Jacques Cousteau or something.
I watched it back and I'm like, yep, that's it. That's enough of this shit. Done.
That's funny.
All right, so I've asked everybody to give some serious thought and to pick out their 5 favorite albums of all time, the top 5. And as everybody's been saying before we started recording today, that this was a pretty tough assignment. So for everybody watching, hopefully you saw the episode that I did with Martin Popov a couple of weeks ago where he and I gave our top 10. So you're not going to really see any surprises from me. So I'm just going to reiterate my top 5 when it's my turn each go around. But more importantly, I wanted to do this because we've never heard it from everybody on here. And I know Butch was grumbling, Ryan was grumbling because, we have a lot of favorite albums, right? It's hard to narrow it down to just 5. So, but that's indeed what we're going to do. So we're going to go ladies first today. So we're going to go Sydney, Butch, Chris Canzaneri, Chris Allo, Steve Keeler, Ryan Scow, and myself, and we'll kind of work our way around from 5 to 1. So Sydney, what do you got for number 5?
Yeah, so upon hearing this assignment, I knew the top 4 like immediately. It was like pretty easy. The 5th one took me a little bit, and after thinking about it, I was in between a couple, and I've mentioned this album. We've all mentioned this album many times on the channel, but thinking about it, I was like, this seems like a pretty solid choice. So number 5, that's 5 is right? We're going like around. Okay. I'm gonna go with Holy Diver. It's one that I go back to all of the time. I never get sick of this album. I know I've mentioned it before, so I'm not gonna like beat a dead horse, but just every song, it's so good. I go back to it constantly. I never get sick of it. It's great. So that's my number 5. Even though contender was also Heaven and Hell, but it could probably be switched in and out. So yeah.
Sydney, one correction. You don't go back to it all the time. You go back to it all the damn time.
Oh, you're right.
I see what you did there, Pete Pardo.
I do those every now and then too,
Little zinger.
Got to keep the catch lines going here. All right, Butch, number 5.
I'm not happy.
Butch is
wait, when does Butch ever happy?
I'm happy. I'm happy quite often. I just don't say
grumpy
it.
Butch is like that grumpy cat. Like he's always grumpy.
No, see, I think really about you.
That's funny.
Like I was saying before we started, my first 2, it's easy. It's been that way for a very, very long time. It really made me have to think about some stuff and think about records that I've always go back to when you're bored. And normally I listen to music on shuffle. So it's always whatever happens to come up. It could be Slayer, it could be Chris Isaac right after it. So I had to think back to records that I pick out to go listen to all the time, especially nowadays with, CDs are kind of antiquated at this point now too, but just to go to, to listen to a band, listen to MP3s and stuff. But so this album has been a favorite of mine since the first note that I heard from this band in 1984. The guitar tone was the first thing that got me. It to this day, I put this on to listen to the guitar tone. I love the record on its own. The songs are phenomenal, but that tone just makes me smile every fucking time I hear it. and that is very easily Icon. I've talked about this album a lot since 1984. It's a shame to me that more people don't know about them. They were on Capitol Records. They had a shot, and they have, I think, like 5 records totally, but the first 2 are stupendous. But that first one, just self-titled Icon 1984, is just a masterpiece to me. The songs are amazing. The production is amazing. The guitar tone is off the fucking charts. It's like nothing I've ever heard before, although it's similar to like a Striper tone, or even the first King Cobra record. They have that same type of tonality, but that man, that's one of those records that just makes me so happy every time I hear it. And I've been listening to it a lot since 1984. So that's number 5 for me.
That's a good one. Chris Canzaneri, do you remember my brother playing those 2 albums to death back in the day?
Mhm.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Tremendous. They both sound great today. They don't sound dated at all.
Yeah, true. True. Cool. All right, we're off to a good start. Mr. Canzaneri, what do you got?
Okay, like everybody said, this is pretty much fucking impossible. So I decided not to overthink it and just hit some of the stuff that I owned as a very young kid that I still listen to with some regularity today. My number 5, I'm going to go with "Diary of a Madman" by that guy Ozzy. Ozzy, what's his name? I got this album as soon as it came out when I was a kid. Played the living shit out of it. But as a young guy, I wasn't into the slow songs, and I kind of skipped over "You Can't Kill Rock and Roll" like every time for like a year. And I remember this very well. Like a year later, I pulled the album out, and I'm like, let me just leave this on. And like halfway through, I'm like, just wait a minute. Like, boy, this is fucking great. So it was awesome. It's like I just got this album all over again because I got to discover the song a little while later. But absolutely killer album. I mean, "Believer," the guitar solo on there, "Over the Mountain," "Flying High Again," everything is fantastic. I had actually seen Ozzy before the album came out. They played "Flying High Again" at that infamous Music Mountain concert back in '81.
Yep.
But yeah,
Def
he
Leppard,
played "Flying
fuck
High,"
you.
waiting around for that song to come out. But
Wait,
yeah,
Butch, you weren't at that show, Butch?
No, I wasn't at that fucking show.
Oh, Sydney, you must be
Oh, Butch
upset.
was there.
I missed fucking Pete Willis.
Sad trombone.
It makes me so mad.
Cry me a river.
I wish I could have seen it.
it was great.
But you know what,
So-
Chris, you brought up something that I think only us that are older, that grew up with vinyl, can really say. Because I think nowadays, I think it's different with vinyl. But you just hit it, because I think all of us can say that you had records that, like you said, you played it all the way through once. Oh, I don't like that song. And then you'd get up and you'd go skip over it. And then one day you were lazy. You're like, I'll just let the whole thing play. And then you're like, why did I not like that song before? That song is awesome. And it ends up maybe even becoming your favorite song on that record, but you never gave it a shot in the beginning.
Yep.
And that's
On a
That's the
similar-
only record I did that with.
Yeah. I mean, a similar thing too is like where you just listen to one side all the time. Like think of like
Sure.
moving pictures, right? How most of us just played side 1 to death and maybe didn't listen to side 2 as much. And now all these years later, side 2 is so fresh and exciting, and we don't need to hear side 1 again anymore. So
I was the guy I liked side 2 better. I like Witch Hunt and Camera Eye.
Witch Hunt is always great. Yeah. Yeah.
My theory with that, Pete, would be the tapes. Like I know, I got some vinyl, but I got a lot of tapes. And if you guys remember, you had to listen to all the side 2 to get back to side 1,
Yeah.
unless you rewound it or fast forward it, which got to be a pain in the ass after
Yep.
a while.
Yep.
Same thing with 8-tracks, which was even worse because you had to wait for it to click
Click.
over to that next section.
Yep.
That's a whole nother story.
I didn't
Now,
realize that Chris was old enough for 8 tracks.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Sorry, Butch.
No, I was gonna say, Chris, you're actually right. That's probably even more correct, is cassette, because there was a pain. You're trying to get to the song,
Plus, too, if you're driving, you don't want to be fast.
Yeah.
Well, you got to let the tapes play. Yeah.
Yeah,
push
pain in
play.
the ass.
Just let it
Pull it
play.
in, let it go.
Yeah, but just think to imagine discovering or rediscovering "You Can't Kill Rock and Roll" a year after the album came out.
Sure.
Great
It
song.
was awesome.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
All All right, Chris Allo.
Oh, okay. All right, yeah. My number 5, 1992 or 93, I heard this band on WSOU. I was driving, I don't know where the hell I was going, but it was a song called Martyr, and it was like heavy, and but there was some melodic vocals. I didn't know what was going on. I picked up the record, but I wasn't in love with it. It's The Soul of a New Machine. But then 1995, they put out this record called Demanufacture. And I actually got this copy from Rock Fantasy.
Yes.
I'm not sure. I think I could be grasping at straws here, Steve, but I know I went to your store in the summer of 95 before going to ECW Wrestling at the Orange County Fair. So maybe I got this then. I'm not exactly sure. But
That's quite possible.
I absolutely fell in love with it. It's one of my obviously all-time favorite records of all time. I have 3 copies of the special edition. I'm not quite sure why. I know one of them is signed. I don't know where I got the other 2 from, but man, I just love this record. It's it just opened up my eyes to like, well, what is this? Like it's super heavy, but it's super melodic. Like it's metal, but it's also like electronic.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what's going on here. I feel kind of weird inside, but I love it. And I just love this record, and that's my number 5.
And
Hands
listening-
down, the best thing they ever did. By a million miles, I think. That's
maybe not a million, but definitely number 1.
Yeah, I mean, I love all the stuff. I even really dig that new record. But yeah, this is
New record's great.
Yeah, it really is. I will go see them. I don't care who's singing.
Yeah, well, I do.
I mean, but
I got a bias there.
But yeah, I love this record.
And on top of that, you listen to that record and you can see a Terminator movie.
Oh, 100%.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know?
And I mean,
Totally.
not to also too. I mean, like Jesus, how influential was this record?
huge.
I mean, how many bands do the alternating vocals, the melodic vocals, and the harsher style? It's like holy shit. I mean, to me, it all goes back to these guys.
Talk about guitar tone. That was a monumental guitar tone too. It's like holy shit.
That's crushing. So yeah.
Cool. All right, Steve Keeler.
All righty. So yeah, it was a tough one, and I just really been too busy to put much mind to it. I was doing a lot of driving yesterday and started to think about it, and come up with these 5. And the first one is going to be a live album. Judas Priest, Unleashed in the East. I a little bit like Christian said, I didn't want to put too much thought, and I put a little more thought in it this evening, but that's my favorite Priest album, and I was going to go with Unleashed in the East, and I listened to that starting on 8-track back in the day and all the way to whatever I listen to music now, vinyl and whatever else, streaming now, but not going to go into too many details. Everybody knows the album, but that's my number 5. And a couple of these albums can be switched at any time. I'd say maybe the first 1 or 2 were probably a little bit like what Butch echoed there. I echo what Butch said about the first 2, but there's this could change any day. Depends what day, what mood I'm in, for some of them.
Les Binks, you can't go wrong.
That's right. That's right. Good choice.
And what a performance of all that stuff, Oh.
Absolutely.
I will say
right.
this though, the live, the crowd noise is hideous though. They did an awful job on that. That's one of the worst things ever. Listen to is it Victim of Changes? No, not Victim of Changes. There's some song in it where Halford's singing and and there's a spotlight for the crowd to make noise, and it's just he says something. He goes, ah.
Yeah, it's Victim of Changes. It's during that.
Yeah, it is Victim.
I know
of Changes, right?
exactly
You
the part you're
talking about.
thinking of.
It's
It
like
sounds ridiculous.
Could you put the fader a little bit different each time? It's exactly the same noise each time. It's like, have you ever been to a show where it's just quiet and then loud and then quiet and then loud?
Nope.
It's even kind of funky during the solo of Genocide too, because it's like,
Mhm.
it's like,
Oh God, yeah.
Well, I wasn't thinking about the crowd noise.
No, I hear
It's
you. Yeah.
no.
just an album. I was
I'm just
like,
giving you
it's a
commentary.
great one.
of course.
If you heard the album 48 zillion times, like most of us have,
Yeah.
you
You
cue
pick
it
shit
up
out.
for sure.
Yeah. All right, Ryan.
All right, so I'm gonna like Butch said, this was impossible. I whittled it down to 10, and I had a hell of a time getting it down to 5. So I'm gonna cheat and go with Nick's picks first, because Nick gave me 5 albums.
Oh boy.
Nice.
Nice and
Still
easy.
thinking of
So,
yours, are you?
what's up? There's
Still
no
thinking of your
overlap.
5,
Actually.
huh?
There's no overlap.
Do you have them printed out for Butch?
No, I have I have the album, Steve. I have all the albums. There's only one overlap of a band, but no overlap of albums. So number 5, Nick picked was here we go. New Camera. There we go. The third album by Norwegian black metal band Satyricon, Nemesis Divina.
I've heard of them.
It's still black metal, but it had better production. It was kind of like a transitional moment for them before they kind of changed their style. It wasn't raw black metal like the first two. A little more epic, folky, a little melodic, still very intense, still a lot of blast beats, screaming vocals. I think it's their best album too. Someone will agree with Nick on that. And for my number 5, let's see. So I had 2 albums here, so I'm going to randomly pick one because I had such a hell of a time.
That's cheating.
It is cheating. So you're never going to know what the other one was. I'm not even going to mention it. So it's a band I've mentioned on here once, twice. I don't think anybody knows who they are, but they're important to me. They're the band that got me to go to Canada for the first time.
I knew I was going to say something from Montreal.
Yep. So, well, they're originally from Toronto. They existed for years. They kind of broke up. It's really just one guy, and he has a session drummer. Although we got a live band, he played 2 shows ever in 2013, and they fucked off. They put out one more album, and then they pretty much broke up. So this album was the band's Megiddo, and the album's called "The Devil and the Whore." And there's a picture of Satan banging a chick there. Kind of hard to see. You know, if I get up real close there. Yeah. So I don't know. I just
band
Megiddo. Yeah, on the back it's in white.
The Devil and the Whore. If you missed that,
The Devil and the Whore. Yeah, there you go.
And it's then he said he changed it to Satan banging a chick.
No, that's the artwork.
Oh, well, you said the devil and the whore.
Well, there he is, and there she is. I mean, it's
All right, so-
pretty clear, Steve. There's no.
Well, the devil and the whore would be
Yes,
who was
see?
on the cover. Now it's Satan and a chick.
Satan and the devil, kind of the same thing, Steve. Anyways,
Well, yes. You just
Yeah.
Brian's commentary was absolutely perfect right there. Well, come on, Steve. It's right.
there's not much to talk about, Steve. It's pretty. So these guys, it's like old Venom, early Celtic Frost when they were Hellhammer, old Bathory. It's like a mishmash of 80s influences, but to me, that's just the way they kind of packed it together. It's like this perfect album. I've listened to it innumerable times. The third track, The Oath, it's probably my favorite single song from a Canadian band. Every time I go to Canada, as soon as I go through the border, as soon as I'm driving to Montreal, I have to put this album on. And it's just long enough to last from the border to Montreal. It's about 30, 35 minutes, and it's not a very long drive. So by the time I'm in the city, in a great mood, ready to go, whatever we're doing up there, party and seeing a festival. So yeah, they're originally from Toronto. They had 3 albums and then they fucked off, but this one is my favorite.
That's my favorite. And then they fucked off.
They did. And well, the third album, he almost pulled a bit of an Axl Rose. He said the third album was supposed to come out in 2003 originally. I'm like, oh, great. And it came out in 2015. So they made us fucking wait for
They were
That's a
busy.
long wait.
a long fucking time. Because it was like, if you just had broken up and went away, all right, whatever, it sucks. But every now and then he's like, no, it's still coming. It's still coming next year. And that turned into year after year. And finally, 2015, here it is. And then that was it. Nothing else. So I'm glad it came out. I love it. And there we go.
Just think, man, new album coming soon. By the time it comes out, 3/4 of the viewing audience or the fans are Social Security age, and it's like,
Oh, yeah.
listen to
Was it
them anymore. Yeah.
12 years later? Yeah.
Yeah.
They couldn't get vacation time to go rake their record.
Oh no. And it's just it's one guy and a session drummer. So it's not, obviously it's raw black metal. It's not like a Rush album,
Yeah.
It just took them a long time to get in the studio and make it happen. But I'm glad it did. 3 great albums. Love them. Glad I saw him once in Montreal. I was drunk as fuck. Had a great night. Moving on.
Cool. All right. Got to have some Sabbath on my list. So my number 5 is Volume 4, my favorite Black Sabbath album. It just creeps into my top 5, beating out another album that I really love a lot, but you got to pick one over the other, right? So again, for those wondering where my number 6 would be, go watch the show I did with Martin a couple of weeks ago and you can find out. But yeah, I mean, some of my favorite Sabbath songs of all time are on this album, like Supernaut, Snowblind, Under the Sun, Wheels of Confusion. Just love it. Love it. Love it. That's my number 5. Back to Sydney.
Cool. So like I said, I knew kind of the top 4 immediately. 3 and 4 could probably, like, the order isn't super specific. I could probably switch 3 and 4. But choosing these, a lot of the albums that I picked, were albums that were just, like so many of you, I'm sure, just were so influential to me when I was really getting into this music. So one, I always go back to one of my, just obviously one of my favorite albums of all time is The Great Radio Controversy, Tesla. My dad is always right. So he suggested these guys to me and I was like hesitant at first. I don't know why. I was, like, obviously he knew I would love it. But he gave me the CDs to start and I heard this album for the first time. And then this is actually my dad's original record that he gave to me. And I just listened to it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. I know some people prefer like Mechanical Resonance over this one. I get that a lot, but this one to me is just, this one's just me is just
They're
perfection.
both great. I mean, yeah, it's hard to say.
That's the record.
Yeah, this one, I mean, Lady Luck is my favorite Tesla song of all time. Would love to hear them play that one live, but I keep asking and I keep never hearing it. So if anybody from Tesla's watching this, I've done
so here's
something
payback.
Lady Luck.
I got to see them play that, so there. Ha ha ha.
Haha, well, guess we didn't see Def Leppard and Ozzy, so
Yeah, I didn't see Pete Willis. That does win.
But yeah, I don't know. I love this album. I know I've talked about it on here before, but this one will never not be in my top 5. Yeah, it's perfect.
It's a perfect record. I agree. It's a perfect record.
It's perfect. Even production, I think the
Production-
production on it's great. Who produced this again?
Steve Thompson.
Right, that's right. I'm actually friends with him on Facebook.
Yep, and he's part of the Butcher Shop too. So whenever I do my actually tomorrow's Tuesday. Tomorrow's Tesla Tuesday.
Yeah, it's the production is great.
And they recorded it in Woodstock at Bearsville.
Yeah. And then I mean, like even just like Paradise and Making Magic and Flight to Nowhere, like so many underrated songs. It's more than
Tremendous.
just love song. It's so good. So I'm gonna stop, but it's
Tremendous.
it's my number 4.
Tesla Tuesday, buy one, get one half off.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Oh,
Two,
man.
two for Tuesday.
2 for Tuesday. Taco Tuesday. That's
Taco
on
Tuesday.
tacos. See Mr. Canzoneri's eyes lit up with that.
Yeah.
You can never go wrong with taco.
There's no reason to have just one taco day.
No. Should be taco every day. Never mind taco
Yep.
Tuesday. All right, back to Butch.
Okay, so here's the problem. This is what the problem turned out for me. So it really made me have to rethink the Thin Lizzy thing. So going with your shirt there, thank you very much for wearing the Lizzy shirt. So this is the problem. I've said it. We did a Lizzy show, and I did say at the time it could change on the day. And the show that we did, I said Johnny the Fox was my number 1 Lizzy album, and it technically can be, just like Fighting can be.
But you know how many times my favorite Thin Lizzy album has changed since we did that show like 2-3 years ago?
And this is the thing.
Constantly.
Because of this show, because of this what we have to do here, it made me have to think. I'm like, all right, like I said, my top 2 etched in stone. So I'm thinking Lizzy has to be in my top 5. It would be a travesty. But first of all, what record, and then where do you put it? And I thought Johnny the Fox. So I wanted to do that. And I'm like, you know what though? If I'm thinking in terms of the records that I listen to, or my go-to records or my gateway records, Johnny the Fox is not the one then. And because this is the one, is Thunder and Lightning. Because this came out in 1983. This is where I started. I started at the end because this had just come out. So this was the first Thin Lizzy album I ever got. Not this one, because this is actually the gatefold that I got later. But I have
Right, Butch? You can feel it in your bones. This is the one.
Exactly.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, exactly. And with this one, honestly, it covers so much because John Sykes is on it. And that was my gateway to Sykes, was through this. And because of finding that record, yeah, exactly. Yep. Hold on. John Sykes drinking game, full effect. Because of finding that record, it opened the gateway of me exploring Thin Lizzy, having to go backwards and try to track it all down on vinyl first. So like I said, I got into that in 83 when I was still in high school, and then trying to find everything on vinyl took a bunch of years. But it has to be that. Lizzy, Thunder and Lightning has to be number 4 because of so many different reasons why I love that band is because of that album. Sykes, it was where I came in, and just it's a perfect record. And to me, I can't think of a better record to be your parting shot of your career. That is, to me, is the and not just because I love Lizzie. Obviously, yes, that has, that's where my mind wants to go. But that is the greatest record, the farewell record that I can think of. They knew they were breaking up. They said in the beginning, this is the farewell record. We're putting it out here. And they went out on top. Sykes came in and kicked him in the ass and made him a little bit more metallic than they'd ever been. He rejuvenated Phil Lynott. And that record is just a fucking barn burner. So, yeah, all that big, long talking there. Then Lizzie, Thunder and Lightning, 1983 is my number 4.
All right, cool. All right, Cans, you next.
Okay, this next one, this one I had on a cassette for years. I think I got this when I was like 8, and I was staying with some friends of my parents. They had gone away, and they left me with my babysitter's family, me and my sister, and they had older kids. And I walked up to all of them. I'm like, "You got any Kiss records?" And the son did, and I had this little tape recorder that you had a little handle on with a microphone.
Panasonic.
Yeah, and I was like, "Can I tape whatever you got?" And he's like, "Well, I've got Kiss Alive. You can tape that." So I sat there holding this microphone by the speaker, listening to these songs for the first time ever, and I could only fit about 3/4 of the album on one tape. So I didn't have, I think I didn't have the final side with Rock and Roll All Night and Let Me Go Rock and Roll, and I think I skipped 100,000 Years too, which was probably the best one to skip for a kid.
Yeah, but the drum solo.
Yeah, so. But yeah, so this is the first time I had heard all these songs, and I was like, I started with the best versions, I think. And over the years, I've had probably 4 or 5 copies, and I don't have one now because the last one I had it out in my garage in a trunk, and mice got into it and chewed it up and wrecked it. So I'm looking for another copy right now, but I don't have the cassette either. I'd love to listen to that.
Chris has got 8 or 9 copies.
Yeah.
Only 2. Kiss Alive 1. I had 2 copies.
You can
and
spare a
CD.
copy.
Wow.
I can spare the CD.
I could probably find you one.
Isn't it great when you're 8 years old and you think you're like, big on technology and you got a little handheld tape recorder and a microphone, holding it up to a little speaker, right? You're like, this is great.
No, I found the best sound quality where you had to hold the mic. So I had to sit there with it, 8 inches away or whatever it was. If I put this down, it'll sound like shit.
Yep.
So.
But the problem was you had a 60-minute cassette. You didn't have a 90-minute cassette.
No.
That's the problem.
I don't think that little tape deck could drag 90-minute cassettes all the way around.
That was a good choice. Kiss Alive is great. Absolutely. All right, Chris Allo.
All right, 1988. I was into a lot of bands, and I was not into this band whatsoever. I didn't know them, but I was friends with a guy that worked at Record World. His name is Scotty, super nice guy, and he would save promo posters for me and stuff whenever stuff came in, and he was like, "Yeah, I got that. I really wanted the Monsters of Rock tour poster." With Godzilla smashing a guitar through the stadium, and it had the 5 bands, and I got that. But I got it because I was friends with this guy at the record store. Long story short, I come in one day, he's like, "Oh, I got this album for you." He's like, "I fucking hate it." He's like, "But I think you'll like it." He's like, "It sounds nothing like this guy's original band, but it's pretty metallic. I think you'll like it." And I remember listening to it on the way home, and I was completely blown away. And it's the first Danzig record from 1988. I instantly fell in love. I got the logo pinned on my jacket. In a couple of years, I got the skull tattooed on my arm. I mean, I'm a huge Danzig Misfits Samhain fan, and yeah, this record was definitely life changing. And then I went backwards and got into the Misfits and Samhain. But yeah, it was all from Danzig 1 in '88. That's my number 4.
Cool.
Nice.
Was that Record World on your side of the river?
Yes, that was in
South Hills Mall?
Mohegan Lake, New York.
Mohegan Lake. Wow.
Yeah, well, because
There were 3 of them. Okay.
Yeah, I lived in Yorktown.
Oh, okay.
Yorktown
I didn't
Heights,
know that.
so yeah, that was the closest one at the time.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I know we had one in Middletown, and there was one like Butch in your neck of the woods.
There was two for me. It was Fishkill and Poughkeepsie.
Oh, there were two. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
Fishkill, the Dutchess Mall and the South Hills Mall.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I still remember the bag. I had a ripped up one laying around the store before we moved.
I can see it very clearly.
Yeah, yeah. I got a used record in the other day with a Playtogs price tag on.
Oh, Jesus.
Wow. Going back.
Wow.
Holy shit.
Steve, I still can't remember where they actually sold music in Playtogs. I was in
Oh,
that store
really?
a million times. My mother would always take me to let's go get some blue jeans, right? And they had this big bins with jeans flowing all over the place. And I remember like just messy everything there, but I don't remember music being sold.
If
The
you
whole store
walked
was like
in-
a bomb went off.
When you walked into the front of the store, you would take a right and go all the way over to the right, and that's where the record department was.
Gotcha. Okay, I don't remember.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they had electronics and cameras and a Ticketron outlet there. And
They
that right
actually,
hand-
I think later on they moved the record stuff over at one time, but yeah. Now it sits empty, actually. They're talking about, I'm gonna be an Amazon distribution center or
Oh,
something.
is
I
that what
think.
they're doing over there?
They're talking about tearing it down, maybe. I don't know.
Flea market for a long time.
Yeah, my parents
Years.
told we used to go to the flea market sometimes. They'd be like,
Mhm.
this place called Playtogs. And you
Yeah.
get
I bought a lot of records there because it was easy for me to walk down a hill to.
Oh, yeah, for you. Yeah, yeah. Yep.
Bought a lot of them bought my first full album there, actually. So
Oh, okay.
I guess it's my turn again.
It
We're
is your
back to
turn,
me.
yes. Yep.
Well, we're gonna get into something that Butch will give me an attaboy for. And it would probably be higher in his ranking than this, but I'm going with Van Halen 1 for my fourth.
That works.
And what are you gonna say about this record that hasn't been said already on episodes in the past? I mean, I love it from start to finish. Talking about this little tape deck things, I had the little square 8-track player. And I remember taking that to with my parents to Wildwood, New Jersey one summer. We would go there for 2 or 3 weeks every summer and just having that out on the deck. And my father got me an 8-pack of Miller Nips, and I was on top of the world. The Miller Nip shop, yeah.
7-ounce nips.
And from that time period, I didn't mention this other one in the top 5, but Aerosmith Rocks also was another one from back then that I had in that deck. And I would walk
Essential.
around that little square thing, and you'd stick the 8-track in. And it was
How many
like
batteries, Steve. How many batteries did that take?
I don't remember. My memory's hazy on that kind of stuff. I'm getting
There was
there.
only
I got
so
the
big.
olds.
It probably took like 2 D batteries
I
back
was
then,
gonna say at
probably.
least, yeah.
I think they lasted quite a bit though.
Mm.
It was the first boom box before the boom box got
Yep.
big.
That's right.
Still, you could crank it pretty loud in that little thing.
And halfway through the song, click, 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 click.
Yeah. That was the worst.
Yeah,
Clicked over and then it faded back in.
Yeah, pretty
yeah.
bad.
Oh, it's like, oh, who thought of this?
Somebody brought me a whole box of 8-tracks in the store. I don't think they become worth money though.
No, because they're stupid.
They're not worth the shit.
They look cool though.
Yeah, they look cool.
They do
Nobody
look
wants
cool.
to fucking play. You can't
Steve,
even play them
you still
anymore.
have those, Steve?
The 8-tracks there, I got a box of them in the shop, and there's actually a game in my store that's powered by 8-track. It's that dancing puppet clown, Bimbo the Clown, and
Really?
you have to have an 8-track to make that thing work. And for years we just had like a Santana 8-track in it or a Carnival, but we finally got the real one and the thing works on quarters now. But yeah, it's got an 8-track player in it. A lot of the old video, not before video games, a lot of those old gun games and stuff all had 8-tracks in them for sound back in the 70s.
Okay.
Interesting.
Should
And
let
then you got-
Jim Bakke know what you got because he collects 8-tracks. He might be interested in some of the stuff.
I'll have to dig them out. I think they're still there. They might have got chucked in a cleanup too. You never know. We
Any of
usually
you-
don't.
Do any of you guys remember the game well, it wasn't a game, it was a toy in the 70s called 2XL?
Oh, sure. Made by Mego.
The little robot.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a little and 2XL worked off of an 8-track.
Oh shit! I had.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but it had 4, it's just like an 8-track, it had 4 different programs, and you could click it and it would switch to whatever the
It
program.
would play like a little robot voice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I don't remember that toy.
That's what we grew up with. Here, put the cassette in, hit the button, and it talks like this is. You look back as you got a little bit older. That was really fucking stupid.
Made by Mego Toys, who were made famous the Mego action figures.
The
There you
Riddler.
go.
I got a whole case of them up here behind me. You can't really see them in the.
Yeah, they got lots of stuff.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, Ryan.
All right, so I'm going to go with Nick's first because I'm trying to be a good friend here and he has to work tonight. So we're going back to
Oh boy.
1994. Country is Finland. That's a shock if you know Nick.
Oh boy.
I know. And this logo, don't worry, it's very legible, very readable.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it.
It's their second album. The band is Amorphous, and the album is Tales from a Thousand Lakes. It has that.
I actually have that.
It's a great album. It's my favorite too. He sent me his list, and I immediately pulled it off on the shelf. I was like, "You got all the albums?" Like, of course I got these albums. They're great albums. Why wouldn't I have these albums? So I have everything they've done, like Nick. But to me, this is their crowning moment. And for my pick,
let Nick know that I have that.
I will. I'm gonna actually text him. It's like Butch has one of the albums.
You'll be very surprised.
You know what? I think you're gonna have multiple of Nick's albums. We'll get.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. For my number 4. So what sucked about this? What was the hardest about this to me was take great bands, and it was very difficult to narrow down into a single album. Like, I don't know, Sabbath, Motorhead, Lizzie, all these great bands. I'm like, well, I love the band, but to really pick one album out of the pile. That's why, honestly, I couldn't pick a Motorhead. Motorhead's one of my favorite bands, but to pick a single Motorhead album above all others, I just gave up. So this band, again, many, many great albums, great band, but I was able to pick a favorite because this has been my favorite release from them for a long time. Steve mentioned it, and that is Unleashed in the East. For my money, it's the greatest live album ever, and my favorite live album ever. And just for pure classic old heavy metal, I don't think anyone's ever done it better than this album did it in 1979. I don't care. I mean, the crowd noise, we had talked about that. I don't care if you redid the vocals. I don't give a fuck.
Right.
Bottom line is this album's perfect. The sound's great. The guitar tone's unbelievable. Song selection's amazing.
I have one problem with it. Hold the cover back up. Show that now. Show the back.
Where's the drummer?
Okay, that's different. Okay, yeah, they fuck Les Biggs hard on that fucking record. They're like, okay, we kicked you out. We're gonna block the drums and make it like you didn't exist.
And he was the best drummer the band ever had.
Thank you.
And I mean, obviously now you have the original version.
Travis is great, but
but Biggs was the best.
Yes, so, he was.
Since these are my favorite albums, I don't want to go full aloe here, but I own many copies of each album. So I'm like, I'm just going to keep it simple and just pull one copy off the shelf, just a CD. So don't go crazy putting shit back afterwards. So, with this album.
One goes back for me anyway, so it all just.
Well, with this album, obviously, there's depending on the version you have, depends on how many songs there are. The original vinyl has so many songs, and then there's expanded versions.
Right.
And those are the versions you really want to get because every song was great. So
yeah, you need the extended with Starbreaker.
So this version, this one I pulled off the shelf is the extended. It has Rock Forever, Delivering Goods, Hellbent for Leather, and Starbreaker, as opposed to just the original 9. So that's the only caveat I ever had with the album, but that's just the limitations of vinyl, and they didn't want to make it a double vinyl because
I mean,
cheap bastards.
How mad were they at Les Binks that they blocked it? They have drums set up. You can see the drums there. They were so pissed off at him that they blocked it and made it like he didn't exist.
Yep.
Only to bring in Dave Holland. You know, it's
And I saw a picture on Facebook. I don't know if it was in the butcher shop or not, but it was someplace. I saw a picture from that photo session that I've never seen before. That made me be like, oh, wow, I've never seen that before. And it's completely blocking it, but they're doing different movements.
Mm-hmm.
Man, they were really mad at Les.
He's one of the best parts of the album, too. He's incredible. He makes the album kind of what it is in a lot of ways, you know, even though it's stellar all around. But those are me and Nick's number 4.
All right. My number 4 is, for me, the best double album in the history of music. Studio album, anyway. And it's my favorite album from this band. It's absolutely immense. I love this album because it gives you every glimpse of what this band did so well. And it's Physical Graffiti from Led Zeppelin. Yeah. Perfection, start to finish. Love everything on it. Just again, it's heavy, it's light, it's bluesy, it's folky, it's hard rocking, it's everything. Love it, love it, love it. Love the production on it as well. Yep. And it's like, you know, when you think about it, if this half of this album is made up of leftovers that didn't make other albums, any other band on the planet would love to have leftovers like this.
Exactly.
You know?
And that's really the only record. If no one's ever heard Zeppelin before, that's really all you have to say is just go listen to that because that gives you the greatest cross section.
Yep. Yep. A little bit of everything on there.
Yep.
So that's my number 4. Sydney, back to you.
Yeah, so number 3 may or may not be on somebody else's list. And definitely somebody else's list if they were here, but they're not tonight. I have to go with, I don't have the physical copy right now because I'm still unpacking stuff, so it's somewhere in a box. But I have to go with Operation Mindcrime, Queensryche. Yeah, so I'm sure that's in Nick's pile. But yeah, I mean,
It
that's
would have been in Lynn's too.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
that's what I was saying. Somebody who's not here, but
Yep.
2 people who are not here, but yeah, I mean, that's another one just like Tesla that I just listened to over and over and over again. I was fascinated with the storyline. It was, one of the first concept records that I really truly loved. Just, the way the songs flowed together. And even now, like, that album is just still so relevant and so like contemporary, even 30 years later, it feels like just it's so good from start to finish. I like it better than
Careful.
I like it better than it's my favorite Queensryche record, and I guess that may just also come from the fact that it just hit me at the right place, right time, and it was so important to me. But yeah, I mean, I used to fall asleep with like VH1 Classic I don't know if they still have it on. It was like Metal Mania, like Metal Mayhem, where they played the music videos all the time. And I used to fall asleep to that, and like every time I Don't Believe in Love would come on, I would like shoot up out of bed. Like I would like wake up out of a dead sleep and be like, oh my God, it's on. Like watch it. So yeah, I mean, I've watched, Operation Live Crime all the time. Like that is like a show I wish I could have seen. I love that album. So yeah, shut up. You and everybody else I know got to see
Do
that.
you have I have the long box
So do
version of
I.
that.
It's in my
You
closet.
have it?
somewhere.
Okay.
My dad had given it was my dad's and he gave it to me. But yeah, it's just perfection from top to bottom. I could listen to it over and over and over again, and I do, and I never get sick of it. So yeah, number 3.
Cool.
And you hit it right on the head. It's about when you come into a band.
Oh yeah.
Because I love that record. It is not even in my top. Well, I guess it would be in my top 3, I guess maybe. But to me, that was the album that the people that weren't into Queensryche got into Queensryche.
Yeah.
And that ruined it for me because everyone else from that album forward, it was everybody else's band. For a bunch of us, like I knew him on the EP and then The Warning and then Rage for Order, which is probably my favorite. So when that came, it's like kind of like Metallica with the Black record. It's like they were my band, and then you can take them now. You guys like them more than me, so go ahead.
I don't even remember like exactly how I listened to it the first time. It might have been something else my dad suggested. I don't have a clear memory of like how or why I listened to it for the first time. But I mean, yeah, there's a lot of bands that I could look at other albums and be like, it's maybe a little bit better, but it's again, like you said, the way you feel about it.
Exactly.
That album, like when I heard it, I was like, holy shit, like just nonstop, constant, all of the time listening to it.
Did something to you.
Yeah. Even when I listen to it now, and I'm sure you all feel this way about all the albums that you picked, but like when I listen to any of these 5 albums, I can literally feel what it felt like for the first
time.
Absolutely.
It's like a visceral thing. I don't know. It's weird, but that's one of those albums for me for sure.
No, 100%. And then piggybacking off of that, because it's my turn.
Yep.
I've told this story before, so I won't really get into it. Maybe I'll get into it later, but I won't get into it now. But we'll just show that.
Yeah.
Because I got this record when I was 12 years old in 1979. I was going to see them. I was really, really fortunate. I didn't see Michael Schenker. That's the only thing I can say. I saw UFO in 1979 with AC/DC opening up, and I saw Bon Scott. So that was really, really fucking cool. I got to see Bon Scott on Highway to Hell, but I did not see Schenker. But when I got that record, my mother was basically getting me that record because she had already bought me the $8 ticket to see UFO and AC/DC in 1979. So she kind of got me that so I would be familiar with UFO because I didn't have any UFO. And I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what they sounded like. I just hope older kids in my neighborhood said, "Oh, you'd like UFO," and hearing Shanker for the first time, I was enthralled. That record, I've said this before on this show and on different stuff with you, Pete. I have listened to something from that album every month since May of 1979 when I got it. It's just, that record did so much for me. But when you got to the so on the vinyl, when you got to the side 3 where Lights Out, that was it. I listened to the song Lights Out 11. I remember it like it was yesterday. I listened to it 11 times in a row, and the solos came. Shanker does 2 tremendous guitar solos in that, and I would just sit with my head down, with my just head down, hand on the head, just listening, just like I don't understand what I'm listening to. This does not comprehend. I've never heard something like this before, and to this day, all these years later, it's the same. It's the same way. I listened to that.
There's a reason why it's one of the most famous live albums of all time. And
absolutely. Yeah. And like Sydney said, I listened to anything from that. And, and obviously Pete, you and I did the whole box set thing, with all the 8 shows. It's monumental. And being at a young age and very impressionable age to hear that, oh my God.
Yep.
So that's, it has to be UFO Strangers in the Night is number 3.
All right. Sydney's coming back. Chris Canzoneri.
Sorry.
That's all right.
I talked good about you. You missed it.
I pressed my power button by mistake. I didn't mean to. I was trying to turn my brightness up. And I was like, fuck. Right.
Oh, anyway. So
I was like,
where was we?
It's on you, Cans.
So everything that Pete was saying about Physical Graffiti, I was gonna say. I thought you were picking the same album, but I think this is the greatest double studio album ever made. If you want to hear a little bit of everything this band is about, you check this album out. And I'm talking about Exile on Main Street by the Rolling Stones. Some people think it's sort of like this scattered album that's full of loose ends and nothing's coherent about it. And honestly, every single song on there to me is a fucking stone cold classic. I mean, Rip This Joint, All Down the Line, Rocks Off, Torn and Frayed, Tumbling Dice, Happy, Ventilator Blues, Sweet Virginia. I mean, every one of these songs is a classic. And it's one of those double albums, you slap the whole thing on, and I'm not running over to lift the needle up and skipping, and whatever. You put it on, you listen to everything, and you spend a nice 2 hours. But that's pretty recent acquisition for me. Probably only 10 or 15 years ago, I ended up getting that and really checking it out. But yeah, Exile on Main Street, that's number 3, right?
Yep.
Documentary's even better.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. And there's a couple of great books on that period in the history of the Stones.
Oh, I bet.
Must read. Yeah. I will agree that is an album for me that when I first started to get into the Stones, I didn't really care for. And then once it finally made sense to me, I was like, yeah, this is really, really good. Now I get why everybody calls it one of their classics, right? Yeah.
I'm right there with you on that too. Yeah. Same. I heard it. I'm like, I don't know. Just kind of eclipsed me for a bit. I ended up listening to Some Girls a lot more. And then one day I'm like, this is fucking great. This is like perfect blues rock album. It's long as shit and it's good all the way through. So I'm right there with you.
Yep. All right, Chris Allo. And you, Chris, you are right. A couple more years of doing this show, everything that's in your garage is going to be in your dining room, and then your wife is going to want to kill me.
Yeah, that's it. She's just going to move. It's just easier. She'll move. All right, this album, I got into this band on their second record, and this album came out in I think September of '86. And I remember going to Record World, and I wish I still had my original copy. I pulled a Pete Pardo years ago and sold it because I replaced it on CD, 2 CDs apparently. But I remember going to Record World and picking up the cassette and looking at the back, and I'm like, holy shit, there's 20 songs? And like, I didn't notice it. And there was a guy, not my friend that worked there, another guy that was working there was like, no, it's the same songs repeated on both sides. And I was like, oh, okay. So I bought it and I brought it home, and it's Slayer's Rain and Blood.
See, that's what I
And-
thought you were thinking. Exactly. When you said 86, that's what I was
I
thinking.
knew where you were going
And
with
then
that.
you said the 20 thing. I'm like, oh, no, I don't know what it is.
Right, but back then, for whatever reason, Rain and Blood, the cassette only, had the whole album on both side 1 and side 2. So if you looked at it quickly, it looks like there's 20 songs on the album, but it's not. It's just a whole album back to back, and
9 minutes long. Yep.
This was the first record, and obviously we all know now this was a Rick Rubin production, but back then nobody knew who the fuck Rick Rubin was, so his gimmick, much like he did later on Danzig, was every song runs into one another. So this, to me, this was the first, I don't want to say the first, but one of those albums where you just put it, especially with the tape, you just put it in the one side and the whole thing went. And yeah, like Pete said, it's 29 minutes. So, you just listen to the whole thing. But for me, yeah, I mean, I was into Slayer and I was into Venom, but this was just so heavy. They just stepped it up. And then, I mean, this was just mind blowing. So then I got into, Death and Possessed and the Crumbsuckers and the Cro-Mags, and it all goes back to, Rain and Blood and Slayer. That's just a record that I still listen to all the time. I was lucky enough to see him 58 times, interview all the guys, and man, to me, this is the best heavy record of all time, and it's just one of my all-time favorites.
Very cool.
I think I've listened to that album more than anything in this whole fucking room, honestly.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I
Really?
I couldn't listen to Rain and Blood for years because I probably listened to it thousands and thousands of fucking
Jesus
times. From
Christ. Well, it is a short record.
it's a short record, like you said. It's easy to listen to. There's no songs you would skip. Like, what would you even
Right.
skip on that? You just put it on and go. And I wouldn't say sick of it, but I shelved it for a while.
No, I get it. Yeah.
Just overexposure.
All right, Steve.
Back
Steve's got
to
the most
me.
comfortable setup over there. I keep looking at Steve, and he's just
falling
He's
asleep.
just hanging.
I
He's
wish I had
relaxed.
that setup.
He's over here
Yeah.
looking over here. He's-
About 6 o'clock
what's
tonight,
going on?
Linda's like, just tell Pete you're not doing a show. You're that tired. I'm like, nah, I gotta do the show tonight. So I took a little nap, came back out, but I'm mellow tonight for sure.
It's all right.
But anyhow, yeah,
Right
so
now.
so mellow. I'm looking at my list and realizing there was a band I totally omitted from the top 5 that I shouldn't have, but oh well. So I don't know what to do about it. So
That's a story for another day.
it's a story for another day. And I almost wish Pete would have done this and split this as metal or classic rock, because I
But we
always
didn't.
separate them.
Oh,
But
we
we didn't. He did.
But we did.
He actually made it
We
easier
didn't.
by saying just top 5. So
Exactly. No, you're right. That's true.
Steve wants that top 10. I could say
No, not to be a
hard.
top
Almost
10.
honorable
but
mentions.
I like to separate certain eras from certain eras, but so the 80s is getting pushed out right again now for the 70s, and I'm going with Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah.
And Butch doesn't like Pink Floyd. but
No,
we already know that.
I appreciate them, and I have that record. I do own that.
That's wow.
I get it. I get it. I get it.
I mean, I could have went with Animals too. It's like, I could have just picked the top 5 Black Sabbath for my top 5 albums too, or
And you would
top
not be
5
wrong. You wouldn't.
or Rush, or a few other bands, but or Maiden, even though it didn't seem to make my top 5 tonight, which is pretty bad, but overlooked stuff. But anyhow, Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. I've talked about that album a lot on this channel already, so there's not much more to add. But it's in my top 5. It's one of the most iconic rock albums ever, and it's a great album to put on just to relax or just to get a little trippy or whatever else I guess you want to say. Just total chill album for me. Guess I can listen to it now, but and I wouldn't be able to hear you guys, but I really look like I was relaxing on the sofa then.
might even fall asleep maybe.
It's a pretty chill album.
Adam Hart Melder I've used for falling asleep before. I
That's a
think
really chill album.
yeah, but there's my number 3. Sorry, Maiden. It was gonna be Number of the Beast, but I don't know what to do. I gotta split it up.
I think Steve should spend more than 8 minutes thinking about his picks when he has a whole week to do it.
I haven't had a chance to even
fired.
think about
You
it.
just said before you were driving. That's when we all think of shit, is when you're fucking driving. You were
Yeah, you have nothing
driving.
else to do.
He's like, I haven't had time.
I want to
think. I was-
listen to some other things too, but sorry.
Whose
Yeah,
fault is that?
I
That's
was
your
really
fault.
bad in school, and I really didn't do my homework, so I'm still doing it to this day. Sorry,
It's
Pete.
never shown.
Exactly.
Never.
Didn't get your homework done.
Can't teach an
Exactly.
old dog new tricks, right?
Nope.
Steve, I hear you. I hear you. I'm the same way about a lot of things.
And now you feel bad. Now you
Yeah, I
feel
just
ashamed.
feel horrible now. Everyone's
you
gonna
should.
fight. I'll take a week off next week because
Oh, nope. You gotta
See,
come
there
back.
it is. There it is.
I just want to say,
I'll
with
pretend I'm Butch Jones and take about 6 weeks off.
Well, I just want to
Well-
say with Steve on the show today with the earphones and the glasses and the baseball hat, like every time I look at him, I don't know, maybe it's just me. I'm just thinking Radar from MASH. Like every time.
Wow.
Now that you said that, I'm gonna.
So I'm
see-
not getting, I'm not getting Wayne's World no more.
No,
you're
no.
definitely in master.
Yeah, I was like, wow, yeah, it just reminds me of Radar from MASH with the
I've never been called that before. That's something new.
Until tonight,
until tonight. Yeah.
Radar would have to have a wig though, right?
Yeah, he was like the most popular guy on the show.
it
So.
was. Everybody loved the Radar.
I
Yep.
didn't like that show.
Still on every night at 7:00
Right,
on
it is.
He was
BTV.
playing somewhere.
I never got it.
No. Wow, all the TV shows you like, you never like MASH?
My
never
wife-
I
my
never
wife
thought it was
hated that
funny.
show.
I didn't get it.
I was hoping I was cooler than that dude, but
Oh, for sure, Steve.
He's pretty cool.
All
I don't know.
But yeah,
right.
it's pretty cool.
Where are we? Ryan.
All right. Well, speaking of Iron Maiden, for Nick's pick, I don't know how he picked one album from this band, but it's his decision, not mine. 'Cause like Steve just said, it was very difficult to narrow it down. So years again, 1986, but the band is not Slayer. The band is Iron Maiden, Somewhere in Time. which-
Really?
I mean, I'm gonna go with Nick. Is it my favorite Maiden album? No.
No.
Is it? I like it just as well. Again,
I love the
first-
record.
First 7 to me are flawless because they're one of the best bands ever. So it's not the album I would have picked, but that's Nick's choice. So
He's younger.
He's-
I give him.
he's
yeah.
not here to argue. It wasn't even my first Maiden was Number of the Beast. So, but I
Yes.
don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But
Yeah.
yeah, he went Somewhere in Time, which is a great album.
Better than X Factor.
The only thing that annoyed me on it was there was
Yeah,
a couple
I think a
tours.
blank tape is better than X Factor.
Well, I like X Factor.
better than
but
the new one.
this is way better. All right, let's
Oh,
not
that's true,
go down
too.
that
Good point,
particular-
Steve.
The only thing that annoyed me about this album was there's a couple of tours in recent history where the song that they're going to play off this album was Heaven Can Wait, which good song, but shittiest
Shitter.
song on the album. I think by
Shitter.
I don't like that because they were bringing everybody. They have to do the whole chant thing.
yeah, and that's why they did it. You
Yeah.
want Heaven Can Wait, yeah. So, but other than that,
How
I
did
don't.
that go, Ryan?
That's it. That was one and done. You got to rewind.
Yes,
Premiere
sing,
now.
sing it, Ryan.
I almost got him.
You can,
With
you
your
can
with your new
rewind.
with your new microphone and new camera, come on.
You
do
hear
a
it
little-
all now.
Yeah, you can hear it all. That's the problem. That's where we go off the rails here.
It's like Wolfman Jack almost. He sounds like he's so deep.
All right, Radar. So my number 3 here is
Fuck you, Al.
my number 3. So they played New York City recently, but I couldn't go that night, so I drove down to fucking Philadelphia to see them.
Of
I
course,
was not going to miss the tour. I saw them. They kicked ass. They always kick ass. I've seen them 20 times, maybe. So this album, I'm going with, it's the album you heard first. And that's sometimes, it was so difficult to pick what my favorite album was. I just went with the album I heard first. It is, I don't know, good candidate for number 1. But the first 5 to me are all flawless. Favorite guitarist of all time, favorite Canadian band of all time. Obviously, I'm talking about fucking Voivod. 1988, Dimension Hatros. They played 2 songs from this live actually on this recent tour, which was awesome. So I have tapes of this, multiple CDs, vinyl. So this is a 3 CD, really nice digipack reissue that Noise Records did a couple of years ago. And I don't know, this album, this is Voivod at their Voivodiest. If that's a fucking word. It's still thrash metal. They were still in their thrash phase, but it's more experimental. It's more prog metal. Piggy is off doing shit that no other guitarist has ever done before or since, to my ears. He was in his own little universe. He built his own guitar rigs from scratch using whatever he could get. So it was all very custom stuff. So the tones and the sound he had, you can't, go buy that pedal and you could replicate that. Nobody could replicate it because nobody really knew what the fuck he was doing. Unfortunately, he passed away years ago too. But yeah, everything about this is just, every song is good, except for the Batman cover at the end, the old Adam West Batman. Whatever, we can skip that. But yeah, this is a perfect album. But I could have picked any of the first 5 albums, and I would have been saying the same things. Perfect album. So, Dimension Hatros by Voivod. And
you know what, Ryan? I just recently again I still don't get them. I keep trying. I'm like, I'm missing something. Everyone talks about them so much. What's the is there something violent, something?
well, The first one, you wouldn't like the first two. The third one, Killing Technology.
That's the one. That's
is
the
their
one.
purest thrash. Then they did this, which is thrash and weird. And then
What's
they
the
did
name of that one
after this.
again?
This is Dimension Hatros from 88.
I'll try that tomorrow.
89, they had an album called Nothing Face, which thanks to Steve, I finally got on vinyl because that was hard to find on vinyl for years unless you wanted to spend over $100, which I'm a cheap bastard, so I did not.
Record store day.
Yeah, they signed to a major label for that one. So I think it was Sony. I'm gonna say it was Sony. And so when it came time to reissue this stuff, Sony's like, we don't give a fuck. You know, we had that band on our label 30 years ago. So it was hard to find, but yeah, thanks to Record Store
We
Day.
don't give a-
Yeah, well, because that's the thing. I think the band wanted to get the rights to that because they did these really nice reissues of their first four, and they got to the fifth album, and it would have to get the rights from Sony. And I don't know the details, but you know, a major label is just not going to give up their rights to shit. They're like, nah, why don't you go pound salt? You know.
Yeah.
So it was never reissued, and the vinyl goes for a shit ton of money. But thanks to Steve, Record Store Day, I finally got a nice one. But yeah, first 5 albums of this band are perfect. But that is the most common thing. I talk to people about it, and a lot of people are like, greatest band ever. And just as many people are like, I don't fucking get it. And people I know have great taste in music, like tons of good stuff. They're just like, I don't know. I just listen to it right over the head. So they're just one
I
of
would
those
say
bands.
kind of like me with King's X. Keep giving them a try. It'll probably click one day.
Yeah.
And
They're definitely a little off the beaten path.
They're-
didn't I just read that they're trying to do a statue for Piggy?
They are. Yeah. It's got to be in Montreal.
Montreal, yeah.
Either Montreal or his hometown. But yeah, I read they're actually building a statue for him. So that would
That's
be very cool. I want to go take a picture like I did with Phil's statue in Dublin
There you go.
when it finally goes up.
Can you believe I still haven't been there?
One day you will.
I
Look it
will.
up there.
You'll get there. All right, my number 3 and my number 2, I both bought in 1987 at Rock Fantasy, New York, in Middletown, New York, from Mr. Keeler himself. And my number 3 here, it's not the first album I heard by this band. I really dug their other ones, but then this came out and it's completely destroyed me. And I think as the years have gone on, I like it even more. And it's now my number 3 favorite album of all time. It is The Hall of the Mountain King by Sabotage.
Wow.
Yeah.
Love it.
I would not against
I
that.
didn't see that one coming.
Wow.
No.
Obviously, you didn't watch the show I did with Martin Popoff.
You did not.
That's a no.
No,
Wow.
I did
Yeah,
not.
it's
expect
long
that.
been a top 10 favorite of mine, but it's just keeps rising and rising and rising through the years. I just-
Overpower the Night.
Oh, always, yeah. I love Power of the
Oh.
Night, but yeah, this is my Power of the Night isn't even my number 2.
Oh,
That would
stop
be Gutter
it.
Ballet.
Oh,
But I love that's my number
Gutter
3.
Ballet is your number 2.
I love Gutter Ballet.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
God.
Power of the Night is awesome. I love Power of the Night, but but no, this is it. This is for me amazing.
See, that's what
every
you
song
need
on
to
here
do.
is just immense. I love the riffs and the guitar work, and the vocals are off the chart. Just love it to death. Love it to death.
You know,
All
that's
the
what
Queen.
you should do a show about when you play a song and it makes you play it in loop, you know, several times over and over. That's what, like on Power of the Night, the song Warriors.
Oh, Warriors,
if-
great. Yeah.
If Warriors comes up in my shuffle mode, I listen to it at least 7 times in a row. There's something about that fucking song. God damn, it makes me happy.
For me, the title track to Hall of the Mountain King and anything from side 1 on this album, I can listen to over and over and over and over and over again. Just 24 Hours Ago, Beyond the Doors of the Dark Legions, and Strange Wings with Ray Gillen in the background, man. It's so good. So yeah,
it's just, you know what? And if I'm not mistaken, Max Norman produces that too, right? Did he do
this
that?
one?
Yeah.
No, Paul O'Neill.
Oh, was it? Okay, that was the first record that Paul O'Neill did. Okay, that's why it sounds so different. Because I love the sound of Power of the Night. And on that one, it's very thick.
It's different. Yeah, they
know,
both be very different.
It
Yeah.
still has the Chris Oliva guitar tone, but it's very thick. Where on Power of the Night it's very focused. So, but that is a different tone. But I love that record. Don't get me wrong. But Gutter Ballet is number 2.
Yep.
They actually just reissued.
Damn.
Yeah, those are gorgeous, Steve.
On
Yeah.
vinyl, yeah.
Yep.
I know I have this in stock still. I got Fight for the Rock. I got Power of the Night.
Caffrey's gonna text me later.
Caffrey, yeah.
What's your problem with Gutter Ballet?
You're gonna get him started.
All right, back to Sydney.
Okay. So my number 1 and 2, I've talked about many a time here, but So back when I was really
I saw it already. Move on.
back when I was really
Spoiler alert
getting
here.
You hit that really badly.
it's I'm gonna show it in a minute anyway. So but back when I was getting really into, this type of music, especially, I, got a box of I got my first record player and my first records courtesy of Rock Fantasy. And then I kind of got into like record mode for the first time. And so like The Great Radio Controversy was one of my dad's albums. He kind of gave me his box of records because he does not have a record player and was like, just go nuts. So in getting to, learn all of these bands and everything, I would just listen to every album. Like I just would put it on. I didn't care what it was. And so I knew of Dokken before, like I had known the songs. I grew up listening, my parents playing the stuff. So I knew them, but I didn't really like know them. So I put this album on one time, and when I heard The Hunter, everything just clicked for me. I heard The Hunter and something about that riff. You're talking about songs that I could listen to over and over and over and over and over again. There have been times where I probably have listened to that like 20 times on repeat, like just looped that shit on my phone. Like if it comes up, like just listen to it 20 times. I don't know what it is about it. I interviewed Jeff Pilson back in like 2017 or 2018, and I told him that The Hunter is my favorite song, and he told me that that's bizarre. So that just he was like, that's the bizarre one. So I don't know what it is about it, but talking earlier about, albums that maybe aren't the most popular. I know a lot of people kind of deem Tooth and Nail as their favorite Dokken, which, looking probably track by track, you could say it's a better record, definitely heavier. I know this like Slipping Away, which is like not a huge draw for some people. It's
a great song though.
I don't know. I've heard good and bad things from people about it. I mean, I love it. Obviously it's my
That's
second.
all that matters.
That's all that fucking matters. Absolutely.
But I mean, other than The Hunter, which is honestly, I could probably say is my favorite song of all time. I mean, Don't Lie to Me is great on this. Lightning Strikes Again, Unchain the Night, obviously,
Till the Living End.
Till the Living End. It's to me just perfection. If there's one show I could go back to, there's one video I found on YouTube of The Hunter in 1986, and it is them opening up for Twisted Sister at a show in Detroit in January, and it's the only footage I've ever found of that song live in the 80s.
Really?
And if I could go back to one show, it would be that one, that random ass night in Detroit, because I've seen the performance of The Hunter from that show. Like, I think all 30,000 views on that video are mine. So yeah, I mean, I love this album so much. I can't explain it enough.
See, what's funny is, well, first of all, I saw them open for Twisted Sister in New Haven in '86.
Okay.
And I saw Dokken so many times, and I told Lynch this. I've seen them so many times in New Haven, and every single time I saw him in Connecticut, he had a problem with his guitar rig. That stuff was cutting out. You could see him getting frustrated. It was every single time. But it's funny.
Time to start saying New Haven, see ya, that's it.
Yeah, exactly. We're not playing the show. But it's funny to hear the way you talk about that record from your perspective of it being not such a big record, so quote unquote. But at that time, when that record came out, that was a humongous record.
Yeah, it was. It was.
That was revered at the time of one of the biggest guitar records, and Dokken was on the way up. There was nothing bad said about that record at all. That was a big record in fucking 86.
I feel like, it's interesting because I feel like, I talk a lot on Twitter about this album. Anytime this fucking album comes up, I'm like, yeah, I chime in, even though nobody asks. And so I usually get like, Tooth and Nail. And I honestly, sometimes I've heard honestly people liking Back for the Attack even more than they like that one, because it's more, it's got Kiss of Death and it's got a little bit of a heavier edge to it. And I like I said, I think sometimes the flack that I have seen it get is because of songs like Jaded Heart or Slipping Away. But I'm a big ballad person. I love those songs. Again, it goes back to, it was like the first, hearing that and hearing those songs will always be special to me just because of the role that album has in my life. But I still think they're solid. They're solid tracks. I mean, they're catchy. Jaded Heart gets stuck in your head, man.
Don't downplay it, man. It's a great fucking record.
That was a really big album back in the day.
The only thing
most people who were into the band loved that album. When it
absolutely. And I wouldn't even call it a negative, but what was said about that record, which is true, just going by what you just said, Tooth and Nail before it, Back for the Attack after it.
Yeah.
That's this album in the middle. It was polished.
Yeah.
It's very slick sounding. It's very processed. Even Lynch's tone is kind of processed, where Tooth and Nail was really edgy, and then Back for the Attack was polished edgy. If that makes any sense.
It's the costumes for me too.
Oh, the costumes fucked it up for them.
It's honestly
pretty bad.
It's I think if I like the liner, I mean, come on, like
I would totally screw those
it was
broads. I'm just saying.
if they didn't look like that in 1986,
Especially the one on the far right, yeah.
if they didn't look like that in 1986,
Bend her over.
they would have
I'll
got
show her the
over.
Stars and Stripes.
You had to be that way. On Elektra in '86, you had Motley Crue on that same label. You had to do that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I love it. I love the glam shit. They on that tour, they're they come out and they've got like just sparkly shit hanging off of them. It's like falling apart. It's
Well, that was Don. George always looked fucking cool though.
George, if I send you the video I'm talking about, George definitely had some sparkly shit that was hanging off of him. That's
He was still cool though.
Gonna trip over, but no, I love this album. This will always be.
It's a great record.
I mean, obviously it's number 2, so it's just.
There you go.
Listen, I love that record. I'm with you. It's a great fucking record.
Yeah.
I'll defend it. I'm right there. I got your back.
Stars and Stripes, huh, Chris?
Yeah, and then broad's over.
All right, Butch, you're number 2. There you go.
That's it. Next, Rainbow Rising, number 2. I had a fucking Cozy fucking Powell. I will. Being serious though, I will go back and say this. This is the record I got into way later. I remember seeing Dio in '83 on the Holy Diver tour, and him saying, "Oh, we're gonna play some old stuff." In '83, that was '76. It wasn't that old, but it was old to me because I was 15. So I didn't know Rainbow. So I got into it as a late teen, early adult, getting into this record. And that record, and I have to hold it up to actually say this stuff. If you're asking me my opinion, this is the most important record in hard rock heavy metal history, as far as I'm concerned. Because this one record, from the album cover, 6 songs, they do the 6 songs, they pummel you for probably 35 minutes, and then it's fucking over. And everything that came after that record, because of that record, there were so many different genres of hard rock and metal that were started because of that record. I literally do think that that's one of the most important records of all time.
You know what? Speaking of that album too, with the artwork,
Ken Kelly,
Ken Kelly just passed away like
2 weeks ago, yeah.
And that's he did a lot of great art, and to me that's my favorite Ken Kelly album.
Manowar, Kiss, he did great covers.
Oh, tons of shit, a bunch of Manowar covers, but Rising is definitely my favorite artwork.
It's so iconic. It's fucking brilliant, and I don't even remember what's is there a picture of them inside? I don't even remember. Oh yeah, just the gatefold of the guys, but look at fucking Cozy, right? Look at fucking Cozy.
One of the great lineups of all time, right?
Yeah.
One record, one and done.
Yep, that's right.
That's a shame, but they got it right there though. That's just 6 songs of absolute perfection.
Yep.
Absolute.
All right, Cans.
Okay, my number 1 and number 2 are probably interchangeable, and I think I'm flipping right now how I was doing them. But so my number 2, I'm going to go with Master of Puppets. I think this is Metallica's peak. I don't think many people would argue with me when I say that. Everything after this was not.
I'll argue.
I know you love And Justice for All.
Yes, I do.
I don't love it like I love Master of Puppets. I mean, for me, And Justice for All was the first album that failed to get better than the last one. Sorry, but Master of Puppets is the tip top for me. Not a weak song on the album. I mean, they're just standards. Battery, the title track. This is the stuff that people want to hear Metallica play when they go see Metallica.
Sure. Beyond classic.
And for me, I actually kind of came to them a little late in high school. I didn't really listen to Metallica and whatever. And it was probably after I had gotten out of college that I started to like check it out. I'm like, look at Steve. Look at Steve.
Well,
Everybody look at Steve.
I thought you fell asleep.
He's doing the Wordle.
He's
Leave him
reading.
alone.
I'm making notes for my turn.
I'm sorry, kids. I
He's
just
always
looked up
working
and
it.
I
That's
see
good.
Steve
That's
just
a
kind
good-
of
go
reading.
Wake him up.
Fuck everybody
Let him
else's
rest.
turn. I'm making notes for my turn.
Let him rest.
The man's comfortable. Let him be.
What do you want me to do here? It's a long show.
It's a comfortable couch. I know that.
I
Yeah.
gotta
Holy
gotta
shit!
fix-
I
gotta
listen.
fix some
I
shit.
thought that this would be a fucking quick one. Thank God this wasn't top 10.
It's
Be like
my
a
fault.
I know, we'd be
5-hour
here all
mini-
night.
Listen,
You'd be here until
Holy
the next
shit,
Monday.
guys.
I will take blame
Fuck
because
me,
I
silly.
interject.
Let's wrap this the fuck up.
I
You can't
interject.
blame me.
I get passionate and I interject and I ask questions.
Oh, I
and
know,
shit.
I
I'm
know, because
sorry.
tonight's the Butch Jones episode. I'm well aware of that.
I can't help it. I'm interested.
Are we gonna do honorable mentions
This
too?
isn't
gonna
about
do-
me.
Pete, you got to make this like 7 stars, so it's going to be the Hudson Valley Squares featuring Butch Jones.
Questions. I'm interested. I'm interested.
He's not the center square.
All right,
guy.
move it along. Move it along.
You go.
Chris Allo, you're up.
Oh, okay. All right. Woo. I'd like to chew the scenery for the next 20 minutes like a politician, but I'll make it quick. I almost didn't include this one because I'm like, well, this is the album that changed my life. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for this record. I didn't fall in love with music until I bought this record. So I'm like, all right, I'm fucking putting it. Steve would be the only one who understands what I'm going to talk about for the next 30 seconds. 1983, there's a fucking new tag team that comes on the scene in the National Wrestling Alliance. They're called the Road Warriors. They were fucking these huge muscle-bound dudes. They were heels. They came out in spikes and leather and fucking studs and war paint, and they were brand new wrestlers, so they were green as fuck. I didn't know that, but they kicked the shit out of their opponents because they didn't know what they were doing. But watching these guys, they were like, it was like watching a train or a truck just fucking roll over people and just crush them. They were the most awesome tag team ever, the Road Warriors. And yeah, I knew the song Iron Man, but they came out to the song Iron Man from Black Sabbath. And I was like, wow, yeah. So that old song that I would hear on WPLJ, like that song is really cool now because Sabbath came out, the Road Warriors came out to it. So I ran out and bought Paranoid, and here's my 5 CD copies at the moment, the deluxe one,
12 more vinyl copies, over.
yeah, I got all the other ones at home. This is the quad and all these other fucking deluxe ones. Anyway, it completely blew me away, and I fell in love with music thanks to my love of professional wrestling and thanks to the Road Warriors. And yeah, that's my number 2, Black Sabbath Paranoid.
So I don't want to ask a question and make this run longer because.
Well, fuck, at this point, you might as well.
Because why would you want to watch a show where people are actually interested? You'd rather just give the list and that show be over in 5 minutes. Why would you want that?
Well, because
So-
we're 80-something minutes in. I mean, we could do a whole movie. A kid could watch
you
a
in
whole movie
you
at
in
this
a hurry?
point.
You got to go someplace?
Well, actually, Butch, I do have to do another episode with Mr. Pete Pardo as soon as we're done here.
Wow.
Or you turn into a fucking pumpkin.
Well, so then what I was going to say is you just gave that big lead on and you said that that's your number 2?
That's my number 2, yeah.
Holy shit, I can't imagine what your number 1's going to be if that's your number 2 lead in. Holy
Well, I mean,
shit.
it's
I already
close,
know
but
it
yeah,
is.
that's my number 2.
the song that changed your life.
Yeah, well, the
and that's
album,
number
you know,
2.
I mean, because I love the album as a whole. I mean, you know, like Ryan was saying, we're playing the tapes, and I played the tape. First thing I bought was the tape. I bought it at Caldor. I remember going to fucking Caldor.
Oh, yeah, I
and they
remember
had,
Caldor.
they had all the tapes and the records. And like Iron Man was on like 5 of them. Like Paranoid, Live Evil. We sold our soul for rock and roll. The Black Sabbath greatest hits, and then there was the Paranoid Heaven and Hell cassette where they had both. I was like, fuck. But I just got Paranoid. But I listened to that tape so often, and I'm sure you guys remembers in the 80s, everybody, you know, 2020, and everybody was anti-metal. You know, especially around like 83, 84, like around Born Again and Number of the Beast, and everybody was like backward masking. There's hidden messages.
Okay.
And I thought that there might be hidden messages in Paranoid, but no, I just played the fucking thing so many times that I wore the tape down and I could hear the other side coming through. Because then when I bought another tape, it was gone. So yeah, but yeah, crazy. And it's weird the shit you can remember from way back when.
All right, I have a question for everybody who's stupid enough to do this. How many of you actually played some of these albums backwards just to try and hear the stuff that everybody was talking about?
Oh, just a couple things on record, yeah.
Sure.
But I could never understand, like, how could you do like the whole thing? Because you had to do it with your finger, right? Yeah. And I remember the Overkill. I don't remember which Overkill record it was. Was it Feel the Fire? And Bobby Blitz was like, "Hey, asshole, there's no message here. You're just gonna ruin your needle."
Yeah.
I think that was that the first record, Feel the Fire?
Might have been, yeah.
Probably.
I don't know.
I mean, that was a 60s thing too.
The backward masking.
Yeah.
How fast do you do it backwards? So you hear
Beatles,
it?
right?
Right, exactly.
Right, yeah, you had to do it at a certain speed. Yeah.
I didn't do it because I didn't want to ruin the fucking needle.
Right. Well, what was the famous one was Stairway to Heaven had Here's to My Sweet Satan, and apparently every Queen song had something fucking going backwards.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And all the Judas Priest ones, of course, the court case when they accused Judas Priest of putting backward messages for their fans to kill themselves, and then they were like, "Well, wait, if all our fans kill ourselves, who's going to buy the next record?"
Exactly.
They didn't think that one through, did they?
No.
All right, Steve. You're number 2.
All right. And the Road Warriors used to go, "What a rush."
True.
They did.
Oh, I'm going to talk about Rush now. I thought Sydney would pick this album for her number 2, but I didn't think, I guess it's not going to happen. But I'm going with Rush 2112 for my number 2 record. And of course, the 2112 Overture going into Temples of Phoenix. I can listen to that over and over again. I like Passions of Vanguard. I like Tears. I like Something for Nothing. I love the whole album. And
well, apparently you just named all the fucking songs.
hey, listen, I'm being quiet and trying to get through this one with you. And I love all your input, Butch, and you can talk as much as you like, but I like to sit and soak it all in.
I'm just teasing you, and you know it.
I don't hardly talk, and they're complaining that I'm talking too much. See, viewers. So anyhow, and I guess I do have new glasses. They are a little big for my face. That's why I look like the guy I look like the guy from MASH. So I don't look like Garth anymore, I guess now.
I like the glasses, dude.
I like them, Steve.
But I could have all top 5 albums be Rush albums for the most part. I could probably at least 3. But I'm going with 2112 for number 2. I'm keeping it short like Chris Allo does.
Thank you, Steve.
And so Chris, you're doing 2 more shows tonight?
Just one more.
Just one.
Maybe I could drag one up for my channel if you want to step real late.
I need some soda or a good line of Coke, I think.
So
a couple bumps.
So Rush 2112 is my number 2.
There's the quote of the night right there. I need some
What a
soda
rush.
or a quick line of Coke.
The Road Warriors are coming.
All right, Ryan and Nick.
All right, well, we'll go Nick first. So his pick out, I like this album, but I don't like it probably as much as most other people. Or that's Operation Mindcrime.
Nice.
So I don't know what else to say because it's already been really discussed. It's a great album, but I'll leave it at that. So my number 1 and number 2 were pretty much set, and everything else was kind of difficult. But so it's not Rain and Blood, even though that's the album I listened to the most, probably my entire life. But it is the album before that for my number 2 is Hell Awaits. To me, this is a Slayer album to me. I know obviously Rick Rubin came in, changed a bunch of stuff, took all that cavernous satanic reverb out, pushed the kick drum up in the mix, which probably wasn't a bad idea considering it's Dave Lombardo. But I don't know, to me, this was the album that really changed my life because most of the stuff we discuss a lot of shit on this show, on this channel, and there's a lot of good music out there, but fast, evil, satanic metal is always my favorite shit, and that's because this album, which I heard when I was 15, and speaking of backwards masking, this starts off with join us as the title track kind of builds. So right from that, right from the get-go, the intro's evil as fuck. It kicks in, has that slow build up. Probably for me, my favorite song intro ever, with it comes in with the toms and then just off to the fucking races, full speed. Never really slows down. Sounds evil. The guitar solos are just shrieking out of the fucking caves of hell. Probably my favorite how Tom's ever sounded. His singing on his voice on this album's great. Lombardo sounds amazing. At Dawn They Sleep. That whole section at the end, amazing. So I don't know. I don't even know what to say about this album. It's just so fucking good.
You just said it.
I know. And so honestly, Rain and Blood, I've listened to the most because Rain and Blood's an album you can throw on anytime, anywhere. It's a great album for drinking, for parties, hanging out back, driving in the car. But Hell Awaits to me, it's like, oh, I have to be like, I need to be in the mood to listen to Hell Awaits. And I put it on. I put the whole album on. It's only 7 songs. The band was really into Merciful Fate at the time. So like the longer, little more labyrinth songs kind of came in here. Some of the songs, longest songs they've ever had. Obviously, they ditched that going forward on the next album, but I really like how they did it. I'm glad they didn't try to replicate it, and they changed tacks going on Rain and Blood and forward, because there's no way they could have captured lightning in the bottle twice with this. But yeah, to me, this is the Slayer album, and everything they did throughout the whole 80s was fucking perfect. They were my favorite band for years and years. They were the band that got me into metal. Probably the reason I'm talking to all of you today, because that was the band I heard like, yep, this is what the fuck I'm about. This is what I like, and want to be into this metal shit from now on. When I was a teenager, all young and pimply face and stupid, still stupid. So Slayer was the band, and Hell Awaits was the album. So that's my number 2.
Yeah, that album scared the shit out of me the first time I heard it.
It scared the shit out of me too. It is fucking evil.
It is.
Still, you put it on in the dark, driving around at night, man, it still hits that mood. It is great. That sound on it is just perfect. So.
All right, everybody get your drinks out, because my number 2 pick, John Sykes and David Coverdale,
Attaboy.
White Snake 87 album.
Wow.
All our UK viewers are now cursing me out and saying, Pardo, White Snake sucked on that album and anything thereafter. I don't agree, because
No, fuck you. You
a lot of us
talk
folks
bad
here in
about
the
John
US
Sykes.
like the latter period stuff. But yeah, this has been one of my favorite albums since I first bought this from Steve Keeler back in 87. Still love it. Although I will tell you, Slide It In is quickly matching it. I have a feeling Slide It In will overtake it at some point in time.
Let's piss off viewers with that one. UK or USA?
US version.
Thank you.
Yep. As a matter of fact, it's funny we're talking about this because I actually just got in the mail today.
Yep.
Not even open yet.
Wow.
Hype sticker is still on. Stephen
Yep.
Reed, if you're watching, maybe I'll mail that to you, because I don't keep those things. But anyway, yeah, love it. Love the production. Love the guitar tone. Love the vocals. It just one anthem after another. It's been one of my favorite albums for
Huge.
since 1987. So
Yep.
Number 1 is back to Sydney.
Another one I've talked about a lot on this channel. Obviously, it's Alice Cooper. Duh. But as I've said many times, was really big into Alice when I was a kid, and I went through kind of a phase as an early teenager where I didn't listen to rock. I grew up, listening to it all the time, and so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna listen to what everybody else is listening to. And then that was like a 3-year period. And when I was a sophomore in high school, I realized, remembered, I was like, I really loved Alice Cooper when I was young, and I don't know what had the thought in me that I did, but I went back and I listened to pretty much his entire discography. I remember listening to it in like study hall of my sophomore year of high school, and that's what I would listen to. And I heard this album, specifically the first song I heard from this album is my favorite Alice Cooper song of all time, called How You Gonna See Me Now. And it's a very underrated ballad in my personal opinion, but it's the first song from this album that I heard, and it made me want to go back and listen to this entire record. And he co-wrote this one with Bernie Taupin, who of course, co-wrote with Elton John a lot of the time, but it's hands down his most like instrumental record. It's very like, the just instrumentation on this album is unlike anything else on any other Alice Cooper album. It's got strings, it's got, not maybe heavy like by definition, but it's got ballads, it's got, it's got good hard rock songs on it. And Steve Lukather played on this, Davy Johnstone from Elton John's band played on this too. And what I always loved about this album, especially the physical copy, is just how like interactive it is. You know, you open it up and it's like the asylum, because this is a concept record about his time when he was in the mental asylum because there was no rehab in the late 70s. So he went to a mental institution, and he wrote about his time and all the people that he met and all the stories and stuff. So like you open it up and, you know, the quiet room, there's Alice on the inside, and, you know, you turn it around and they're all, you know, the back door, they're all escaping when you open it up. And it's just like the coolest shit. I remember getting this and I was just like, it was just the coolest thing ever. But
Yeah, they don't make stuff like that anymore.
no, they don't. And that's what I loved so much about vinyl in general. But yeah, I mean, this album has just made me fall in love with Alice Cooper again. Truly, like, this was the album that was like, man, like, and because of that, I have fallen down this rabbit hole. I would not, you know, like many people have said, I would not be sitting here right now or doing any of the things that I do or have the job that I have or anything without this album. It is, to me, perfection. So from the inside, Alice Cooper, #1, Die on that Hill.
Cool.
Yeah.
So Sydney mentioned her sophomore year in high school. I have a feeling that Butch has a sophomore album to tell us about right now.
I think you might be right.
Yeah. Okay.
May of 1979, my mom took me to Corvette's department store to buy me 2 records. And she bought #3, a UFO Strangers in the Night. And I had heard about this band that I didn't hear on the first record, but we went there and I asked the guy there, what album should I get? There's 2 records here. And he says, well, why don't you buy the new one? Because that just came out. So buy the second one. And that guy right fucking there, Edward Van Halen, Van Halen 2, has been my favorite. This has been my favorite record since the day I got this in May of 1979. There is no comparison. Just like I said about Shanker with Strangers in the Night, I didn't know anything on Van Halen 2 at all. I had never heard Van Halen. At least I don't think so. Maybe I had heard You Really Got Me on the radio. I don't really remember. I don't think so. Because if I did, I probably would have said, let me get the first record because it's on that one. So I don't think I had ever heard that. But I came home and I remember that day so clearly, getting the album, coming home, going up to my friend Eric Reimer's house. Hey, look, I just got these albums, and putting it on and listening to You're No Good, the way the bass comes in and it's got a whole mood to it. And then Dance the Night Away is uplifting and happy. And then the first 3 chords of Somebody Get Me a Doctor completely changed my 12-year-old life. That was it. Those 3 chords, this album has been the shit for me ever fucking since. And it just got better. So from that to Bottoms Up to Out of Love Again. And then for me personally, hearing Light Up the Sky, which is absolutely my favorite Van Halen song of all time. No comparison. Nothing makes me feel like that song makes me feel. And it makes me so happy just as I'm talking to you and I'm looking down at the back cover, looking at that picture of Eddie again. That's just the shit, man. For a little black kid at 12 years old, all I wanted to do is to have my hair like his. How can I get my hair like Edward? I have to. You don't understand. I gotta have that. What do I gotta do? I gotta have those Capizios. I gotta have it all. Oh my God. So to this day, man, if I'm in a bad mood, all I have to hear are the first 3 chords of Somebody Get Me a Doctor, and I am completely transformed. This record means so much to me. I mean, I want to say I can't explain, but I very obviously I can explain. It means so much to me that there is never been a doubt what my #1 album of all time is. It's been this record since literally May of 1979. There's no comparison.
You know what's interesting? That pick, Rainbow Rising, Slayer, Rain and Blood, and a couple others. A lot of these albums we picked today are relatively short.
Yes.
Like 30, 35 minutes tops.
Absolutely.
How a lot of us are like
right to the point.
Right to the point. Yeah.
Oh,
But I mean, it wasn't right till the invention of CDs
Yeah.
when albums got ridiculously overlong.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, right
Yeah.
back then, like an album you get was 30, 40, maybe 50 minutes, but
If that, yeah. I mean, I think for me, like, obviously Physical Graffiti notwithstanding, most of mine are pretty short. I think, Chris, you mentioned Master of Puppets. That's kind of long for an LP. I think that's Metallica's usually were a little longer, but most of these are pretty short.
Get right into CD time then, though.
Yeah, Metallica. I mean, you fed Master of Puppets has got a couple of like at least 1 8-minute long song and some other stuff that's 6, 7. So yeah.
Disposable Heroes. I think that's almost 9 minutes.
Yeah.
Getting real close. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shit, what I wouldn't have given to have some extra songs from Van Halen too.
Well, I think a lot of these albums, right? We would love to hear at least one more song, right?
Yeah, that's all you get.
Make them 40 minutes. Just get that extra song on there. Yeah.
Oh god damn.
But you know what? You can't argue with perfection, right? So might as well leave them as
It's
is.
perfect the way it is. Yep,
Yeah.
it's perfect the way it
And
is.
the longer you make a vinyl record, the less volume you get out of it.
good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
True.
Which I guess went out the window when CDs
yeah, you didn't have to
took
worry.
over and vinyl went away.
Yep.
But that's why, so many records, I think those long records with, 70 minutes of music, I'm like, oh, Jesus.
Doesn't keep anybody's attention.
Ended already. I could go watch a movie by the time I'm listening to this record.
Especially the fact that you can now just, that's not grabbing my attention.
That's true, too.
You're not listening to it all the way through.
Yep. That's why nobody cares about albums anymore. It's like, I'll scan through whatever song grabs me initially.
Yep.
I'll download that or whatever,
And
buy that.
back to what Cans was saying before about skipping, you can't kid rock and roll. That's what I was saying. That's the whole that thing that we grew up with.
Yeah.
Let the record play, or like Chris said too with the cassette. I'm not gonna change it. Just let it play. And then you get
It's much work to skip it. Just let it play.
It's easy to skip on like if you're listening to Spotify or something, but it's like if I got vinyl on, I'm not going over and picking up the needle
lift
and
the needle
skipping.
up and drop the needle.
Yeah,
That's
and vinyl's back, so people must be listening to the whole album together when they're playing vinyl for the most part.
or they're buying it and collecting it and putting it away and never listening to it.
Yeah.
I know people that do that.
I believe it.
I know people that buy record store day stuff that don't even have a working turntable.
Oh, I bought a fucking car. I just put it in the garage. I don't drive it around. The fuck is that?
Yeah.
Well, some people buy stuff and they keep it sealed and they think, how much will it be worth in 5 years? I'll just hang on to
So
it.
stupid. Who would ever do that?
I know, but
But the vintage air stashed.
Yeah.
all right, Mr. Canzoneri, what do you got for number one?
All right, number one. I don't know if I've listened to this album more than any other album ever, because I listened to a lot of shit when I was a kid. But in the last 30-something years since this has come out, I have listened to this more than anything. It is my favorite thrash metal album. I think it's got some of the best guitar playing I've ever heard. I'm talking about Rust in Peace by Megadeth.
Wow.
Marty Friedman is just freaking, his hair's on fire throughout this entire album.
Absolutely.
Every song is great. Every moment is great. Although one I want to mention, I know we're getting late now, but I think that outro jam, like the last minute of Five Magics, could be the fucking best moment in speed metal, thrash metal, that kind of music that has ever been. And whenever I hear that, if I hear Five Magics coming on in the beginning of the songs, it's not really moving too quick and like, and now I'm waiting for that last minute, and every single time it makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up. I'm just like, yes, that's the shit I stayed here for.
So it's all about.
It's amazing. So
I got 3 words for you. Nick fucking Menza. He destroys that album. He's on fucking fire the whole time. Take No Prisoners, Poison Was the Cure.
And who produced that record?
I have no fucking idea.
I remember.
Max Norman.
I was gonna say Max Norman. Fuck, now I look like an idiot.
The original, the remaster sounds like he's playing wet cardboard, but the original,
they
Nick
fucked those
Menza's
up.
kit sounds like a fucking beast.
Yeah.
Really.
I agree. A lot of reverb.
Cool. All right, Chris Allo.
Okay, yeah. All right, my number one. I've probably mentioned it 100 times on this show, but there's a hard concept, to go back to from the 80s. Like you couldn't just listen to music whenever you wanted. You either had to buy it or get a copy from somebody, and that was it. So yeah, I love Paranoid changed my life. I went out and bought all the Sabbath records with Ozzy, and I was off to the races, just buying up fucking records. But I never had either of for I don't know, maybe the first year that I was really collecting shit. I didn't have Heaven and Hell or Mob Rules, and I'm in Great Adventure. I guess it was like 1984 maybe, and I'm on a ride with a friend of mine. It was one of those basket things, and they were like, oh, they were putting extra people in. You know how they like sometimes put a stranger with you on one of them things, and this dude gets on, this normal looking dude, but he had. No, that would have been fucking great. I mean, I got to piss next to him. That's as close as I get.
That's enough.
But this dude had an original 3/4 inch jersey from Mob Rules on the Mob Rules tour, and we were talking because the ride had like a problem, so they didn't take off yet. And like I was wearing a Bark at the Moon shirt. I don't know what shirt my buddy was wearing, but we were like talking, and he was like, "Oh yeah, you like Ozzy and Sabbath and blah blah." And he's like, well, what about like Mob Rules and the stuff with Dio? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know it. He's like, oh, do you think you'd like it? I'm like, nah, I don't think so. I'm like, because like Sabbath, is great with Ozzy. He's like, but do you like Dio? I'm like, yeah, Holy Diver's great. And he's like, but you like Ozzy solo? I'm like, well, yeah. So he's like, oh, dude, trust me, get Mob Rules. And thanks to that guy, I went out shortly after and got Mob Rules, and I was just like, whoa, it's like old Sabbath, but it's so fucking heavy. Dio's voice is amazing. And then when I got to the Sign of the Southern Cross, I was like, this is the fucking heaviest song I've ever heard in the history of songs. I mean, I wanted to like grab a hammer and start smashing the windows in my bedroom. It was that fucking heavy. I mean, it was just so crazy. And yeah, here's my autographed copy by Ronnie and all my other fucking versions, not including the tapes and the records, and hell, I just got like 2-3 more copies from Steve from Rock Fantasy. But yeah, that's my number one all-time favorite album, Black Sabbath Mob Rules. I almost didn't put Paranoid because I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have 2 albums, but I'm like, fuck it, there's no rules, and if there is, I'm pulling a Keeler or a Catino and doing whatever the fuck I want.
Make up your own rules.
Catino.
Well, yeah, Rich Catino, he really
does
a lot of weird shit. So
I haven't seen him in a long time.
Yeah, well, he's been busy listening to Winger records or something. I don't know.
Keeps a man busy, all right.
Yeah.
All right, Steve, you're number one.
My number one, we talked about a week or 2 ago on here, Black Sabbath Sabotage, and Hole in the Sky, Symptom of the Universe, just my favorite Black Sabbath record. I mean, I love Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath too, but Sabotage for the win tonight. And what could I say? I talked about this album a couple weeks ago with you guys, and I already knew it was what Chris was picking because he had the shirt on through the whole episode.
And he's mentioned it on multiple occasions.
He gave it away.
Hole in the Sky, Sabbath. Number one for 2 of us tonight.
All right, Ryan.
All right, so Nick did not give me any notes to talk about this stuff, so I'm just going to make up.
That's fine
here because this applies to me too. So there was a young Canadian fella from the city of Vancouver. Early in the 90s, he was the singer for Steve Vai for a little while. Then he joined a Canadian industrial band called Frontline Assembly, played guitar on one of their albums, 94. So then he starts his own band, 95, called Strappy Young Lad. He quickly enlists a couple fellows, including Gene Hoglan from Testament and Dark Angel. Puts out an album in 97 called City, which is probably, I don't know what the fuck kind of amphetamines he fed Hoglan to play on that album, but it's ridiculous. So then he goes out and records a solo album, totally different, because Strappy Young Lad sounds like 1,000 jackhammers flying up your ass. Goes out and records a solo album, which is very melodic and it's very uplifting and really, really gets you in the mood to just kind of chill out. And I love the fuck out of it. And that band was called Ocean Machine, and the album was called Biomech. But I don't know, like once it was reissued, it was just the guy's Devin Townsend, in case I didn't mention that. So it was just reissued as Devin Townsend, and the album's Ocean Machine. But at the time, I think maybe he thought he was going to put out a couple albums with these guys. He didn't. It was just the one album he's done. And he's done a million things since. I've kind of fallen off with him in recent years, but man, when this album came out, I know he keeps doing new stuff. He doesn't really sit still. He always is changing up the sound. And good for him. But yeah, this is my favorite song by him too. So in lieu of Nick giving me notes, I'll just talk. Yeah, every song on this album is very. If you're not familiar with it, the second song, "Life," just put that on YouTube. It'll put you in a good mood. It's kind of hard to describe. Doesn't really sound like anything else. Doesn't sound like anything else he's done because he's just that kind of artist. But yeah, this is a monstrous album. And when Nick was giving me his list, I'm like, well, I know Operation Mindcrime is going to be on it. We actually discussed Rust in Peace, which I'm surprised he didn't include. Then he said, you know what my number one's got to be? I'm like, yeah, it's got to be fucking Ocean Machine, Devin Townsend.
Wow. You know what? As you were talking, I forgot you were talking about Nick. I can't believe that's Nick's number one.
He loves, and you know what? And I know he's
surprised it's number one. I know he loves Devin Townsend, but I'm surprised it's
number one. Yeah.
Wow. The last song, "The Death of Music," is a really, really. He talks highly of it, and it's a hell of a fucking track. But every song on this album, to me, the following album he did was one called "Infinity," totally different sound, also good. And then he did every album from that point on sounds totally different. I don't like a lot of the later Strappy Young Lad albums. You know, he broke up, and then I don't know if people pressure him to get it back together, but they never really recaptured the magic that he had early on. But yeah, this album was. I know he was going through a tough spot in his life, just a lot of shit going on, a lot of problems, and it really came out in the music. You know, really he was able to push a lot of that emotion into this stuff, and this is a fantastic album. So that said, my number one album was always going to be my number one album. I've talked about the band a lot on the show. They are my favorite band to see live. I've seen them live 20-something times. I've flown to Europe on multiple occasions to see them. I love the fuck out of them, so I'll just keep it short and brief. Destroyer 666, Unchain the Wolves. To me, this is the perfect metal album. A little black metal, a little thrash metal, a lot of epic heavy metal. But when I say epic, it's like kind of where Bathory were at the very end of the 80s. So not like epic like I don't know, like you might think of like Priest or Sabbath, although obviously that's a big influence too. You know, a lot of old new wave of British heavy metal, a lot of those riffs kind of work in there. But yeah, this is like just a perfect mix where everything was going like the best years of early metal. This came out in '97. They're still going strong today, putting out great stuff. I love everything they've done. Every time I have a chance to see them, I'll go Grateful Dead and see them as many times on a tour as I can, spend a whole shitload of money traveling around. Last time I saw him, actually flew out to London in 2019 to see him at the Underworld in Camden, London. Great fucking venue. Had a great time. So yeah, Destroyer 666, Unchain the Wolves. Don't know what else to say about that. And I have a million fucking copies of this, but I only brought out this is the original 97 press from Australia. So they moved to Europe years ago, but when this came out, they were still living in Australia. So
I'm so disappointed that Nick's number one wasn't something that I couldn't pronounce or read.
No, actually,
I thought for sure he was going to pick either Primordial or Borknagar or something like that, or some crazy black metal.
Something I'm like, what?
If you have the Ocean Machine, if you have the Amorphous, then you have 3 out of his 5.
I'm very, very surprised.
And he almost included Rust in Peace, which I'm sure most people have too.
Yep.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, my number one is Deep Purple in Rock. Again, I've talked about this album a million times here on the show. No surprise to anybody, right? Speed King, Bloodsucker, Child in Time. So many great songs on here. Into the Fire. I mean, Ian Gillan. Probably my favorite album with him on vocals is this album. And I love Ian Gillan to death, but this I think is this shit. Such a heavy album for 1970. And it's my number one. And just everybody watching, everybody's probably wondering where's Rainbow Rising. If you didn't see the show I did with Martin a couple weeks ago, that's actually my number 6. So
skin of the teeth, just missed out.
Yeah,
I was actually kind of surprised that I was the only one that picked it.
Yeah, it really paid when I did my top 10, Butch. It really pained me to have it at number 6.
Yeah,
it's hard. I mean, your 10 favorite albums of all time, right? It's like, where do you put them? Where do you place them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, but yeah, number 6 all time is still pretty damn good, right?
Absolutely right.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you have it, everybody. We've got to hear the Hudson Valley Squares' favorite 5 albums of all time. I think we've got everybody covered. Maybe we'll do this on the prog seat one of these days too. We'll see. And but till then, visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. All together. All the damn time.
Damn time.
Or Sydney Taylor. and Steve Keeler and Chris Canzaneri and Butch Jones and Chris Sallow and Ryan Scow and Lynn Versace and Nick Franco, wherever the hell they are. I am Pete Pardo. Tune in next week for the Hudson Valley Squares. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good one. Take care.
Woo.